Hello! Welcome to the Knit Song Podcast. My name is Audrey, and this is my podcast where I share what I am knitting, crocheting, sewing, yarn I might be dyeing, and just stuff that I'm making. So welcome to episode 31. I'm going to be sharing some one sewing finished object, a couple of works in progress in the knitting world, and some future plans for knitting, and some yarn that I'm trying to do something with. Anyway, it's going to be a fun episode. Thanks so much for stopping by if this is your first time. My name is Audrey, as I mentioned. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah with my husband Alex, and I am a person who just likes to craft and to make a lot of stuff. So welcome. Thanks for coming to hang out. Welcome back if you're a returning viewer. Good to see you again. Thanks for stopping by. And yeah, I think I have some fun stuff to show this week. I took my Valentine's Day hearts down since the day of Valentine's has passed. And I'm so into Costco roses right now. I put that on my Instagram the other day. I don't know how I've lived so long without getting fresh flowers in the house on a regular basis. And so that's been my guilty pleasure lately when I make a Costco trip, is to grab 24 roses, because why not? But these were so amazing. There are some really open ones and some that are still buds, and they smell good. I love it. And next week is my birthday week, so I thought, why not treat myself to some pre-birthday flowers, and I just thought that would be fun. So anyway, I will jump into knitting content. I'm using my home mug given to me by my lovely sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, and it's supposed to say home, but California is not a very round state. I used to take this mug to work, and my boss would ask me about it or tease me about it constantly. So yes, I love this mug. It's such a great shape. Okay, I am so excited about my first work in progress. Amy Lowden from Tailoress Studios published the most beautiful sweater I've seen, and I had to buy the pattern and cast one on. So I have cast on a Whitmoor sweater, and I love it. Like, it's so much fun. I will show you a picture of what the sweater looks like. So beautiful. It's got some lace detailing, and it's just so lovely. I love basically everything Amy does is so beautiful. But I saw this sweater, and I just had to buy the pattern, and I read through the whole thing because I learned the hard way. It's good to read through the whole pattern before you start, just so you know where you're going with things. And it's just written so clearly, and even the way she published it, like the font and everything, just looks so pleasing. It just looks like fun to just work on. So I am so enjoying it. So here's what I have so far, and then I'll talk about yarn and things like that. So here is the beginning of my Whitmoor sweater. I'm so excited. It's kind of hard to show at this stage because it's very small, but I've got the ribbing for the neck done, and I have started to work on the lace yoke. I'm using ChiaoGoo needles, which are my favorites. I don't know. I know yarn needles, and everybody has a personal preference, and I think that's awesome. It's just funny how the texture of the needle and the shape and the taper of the point really affects, for me, the way my hands feel after I knit for an hour. So the ergonomics change. So I didn't have the smaller size needles recommended in ChiaoGoo's for the ribbing. So I did these in Addi Turbos. And my hands were sore after. I don't know if they're just so slippery, or I think it's that the ones I have have like a round, not a very sharp tip to them. And the taper is quite short. The distance that it tapers down is really short. So anyway, I was sore, and so as soon as I got to the main section for the yoke, where you go back up a needle size. Oh, I was so happy to get back to my ChiaoGoos because that's just my happy zone. But you can start to see the lace forming here. It's just beautiful, and I love this pattern so much. Yarn. So this is a first for me. I really wanted this. Let me back up. I know I'm gonna knit more than one of these. This sweater is so beautiful and I'm loving the pattern, so I'm already planning my second one. This is a very light and lacy yarn that I picked. I did knit a bit of a gauge swatch, but not technically because I didn't wash it and I didn't get the full 4x4 inches. I went for how many stitches. I didn't look to see how many rows. So I did like 8 rows. I didn't do like the full 4 inches. So I semi-gauged, semi-swatched. But I am getting the recommended amount of stitches per so many inches. But because I'm using the right size needle and a slightly thinner yarn, it's going to be really lacy, and I love that for this color. But then I'm also planning a more rustic yarn for my second one that has like maybe a light gray heather, maybe even a tweed, I'm not sure. But that one is going to be a little bit more substantial. This one's going to be very lacy. Anyway, I'm super excited about this pattern. So this yarn, I knew I wanted a blush color yarn. So I went looking and I realized I didn't have enough. I have kind of this peach color here that I love that I dyed, but I don't have a sweater's quantity. I wasn't very smart when I started dyeing yarn in that I experimented in a lot of small doses. I did 2 skeins at a time, and it would have been nice if I would have done 3 or 4 at a time, because certain things I loved, I'm probably not going to dye them again, and it would be nice to have a sweater's worth in those. Anyway, so I kind of thought about what yarn I wanted to use. I went with a budget-friendly option this time. I have not knit a sweater with acrylic yarn before, but there's a first time for everything. So I actually got an acrylic yarn from Hobby Lobby, and it is, I've never used it before, but it is this yarn, Yarn B 44th Street in Blush. I have never used it before, but I really like it. It's got a very mohair-y feel to it, but it's almost like, imagine knitting with a strand of mohair and maybe a strand of lace weight held together, not fingering and mohair, but mohair and something lighter. It feels really nice. I am planning on treating it very delicately anyway, because all of my hand knits I hand wash, so I'm not too worried about how it will wear. But it is kind of an experiment. It's the first time I've done a sweater with acrylic yarn, but it doesn't feel at all plasticky. It feels really fluffy and nice. So because it was the exact color I wanted and it was a budget-friendly option for a sweater, I thought, I'm gonna do this, because I know I'm gonna probably knit a more luxurious one soon anyway. So that is what I went with, and so far so good. I am really enjoying it. Like I said, I really love this color because it's so neutral, but it's not just white, and I do have a lot of white and I have a lot of black. So it's nice to have something warmer that's a nice warm neutral. So I cannot wait to keep knitting on this. Today has been so busy. I did all my, the big cleaning of the week early this morning, so I'm super tired. Did all the vacuuming and cleaning all the bathrooms and all that. And so all day I've been looking forward to podcasting and then making myself a cup of coffee and having a cookie and working on the next few rows of this lace chart. I'm loving it. So if you are looking for a lacy yoke sweater, I couldn't recommend it more. I am only this far and I'm in love. I love it. So hopefully next week I'll have a lot more progress to show on this. And hopefully it'll be in an easier shape to show because they're kind of just like little yarn discs at this phase. It's kind of hard to show what's really going on. But yeah, that again is the Whitmoor sweater by Amy Lowden. Okay, next work in progress is a cowl. This cowl shows some of the idiosyncrasies of my personality. I mentioned last podcast or the podcast before, either 29 or 30, that I participated in the Yarn Dyers Advent Swap that Christy from Yarn Cafe Creations hosted. I love so much the yarn that came in that Advent. Sorry, I phrased that sentence almost like Mrs. White in the movie Clue. If you haven't seen that movie, it's hilarious. But Madeline Kahn plays Mrs. White, and there's a scene where she talks about someone that she can't stand, and she phrases it that way. Anyway, that's a random tangent. See the movie Clue if you haven't. It's a hoot. Anyway, I love the yarn that came in that Advent Swap so much. And oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how much I've geeked out over this specific set. I'm going to show you a few of the minis. So I'm going to try and remember the dyers. Like I said, I did not keep the labels with the minis as well. So I apologize if I can't remember who dyed what, because as you're going to see, I have knit, ripped out, re-knit, ripped out, and knit this again. Because I've loved the yarn so much and I've pictured this exact specific fade, I've tried to achieve it multiple times. So this one I know is by Orion Fiber Arts. Oh yeah, love that pink. This one is by Malia Made It. Love it. This one I love, and I cannot find the tag for it. So if you are the dyer behind this yarn, or you participated in the swap and you know, I think it was Winter Lights was the name of the color, and I can't think of who dyed it, but look how gorgeous. But if you know, let me know. Will the dyer behind this yarn come forth? Anyway, oh, wait. Look at this. I've answered my own question. Deep buried in it is the tag. That's why I couldn't find it, everyone. Okay, it is Winter Lights by Flock Fiber Studios. Flock Fiber Studios, that's who it is. And I just love it. It's kind of getting washed out in this light. I apologize, it's a bit of a kind of gray day today. But it's just these soft pastel winter tones. So beautiful. There we go. So, all right, so far we've got these, right? And then this is Tristan of Dragon Horde Yarn dyed this, I think last year, and gave me one of these minis for her. It was a fall collection she did, but I thought it went perfectly. This one was from the Advent Swap, and it's by Seismic Yarn. And then this was mine. This was my offering this year for the dyer swap, and I apologize, it's a messy ball. Here's a slightly neater one. Anyway, buried in there are lots of different colors, purples, light pinks, and things like that. But what I have envisioned for these specific things, like I said, I started to knit a cowl. It was too narrow in the neck, so I ripped it out. And then I thought, no, maybe these belong in a shawl. So I started a shawl with them, and I was like, no, they need to be a cowl. So I ripped that out. Normally I am not this finicky, but I have this exact picture of how the quantities of how I want these to fade and how thick I want the sections to be. Anyway, I finally figured it out, but I have wanted to do a fade and blend them this way. Oh, I don't know if I can hold them all. This way. Oh, I love that. Ah, so much. So I am doing a cowl that is going to have them faded this way with this at the top. All that to say, here's what I've got. So I have started, I cast on enough stitches this time for it actually to be wide enough. And it's kind of at a hard place to show where it's fading, but it's starting to, I've already blended the Orion Fiber Arts with the Malia Made It. And so next comes Flock Fiber Studios, now that I found the tag. And I can't wait to wear this. I'm so excited. So I don't even know, I can't remember what stitch count I landed on. I did some 2x2 rib, and then I'm just doing around and around and around on my favorites, ChiaoGoos. I'm doing this on a what millimeter is this? I tend to go by millimeters, not like US size this or whatever. So sorry. This is a ChiaoGoo size 3, 3.25. So it's a nice little gauge for fingering weight. But I'm so excited. And like I said, I'm really normally not that picky about projects and whatnot, but I just was like, no, this isn't a shawl, this is a cowl. And I was like, no, I'm trying again. So this is my third attempt at creating the project I wanted to create with this, but I'm so happy with the results so far, and I can't wait to start wearing it. So this has been the best like TV movie knitting because like I mentioned with the Whitmoor, I'm in a lace chart section. So this is my social knitting and this is my focus knitting. I like to have one of each. Otherwise, I don't get, there's so much progress that can be made when I just have a lot of opportunities for mindless knitting. If my husband wants to watch a movie or something and I can do something with my hands and it doesn't take any thought, I can be fully present. Whereas if I have only really kind of cerebral knitting, it's hard to, I can't get anything done when it's time for mindless knitting. So yeah, I like to have both. So those are my works in progress this week. I am going to now show you, I'm going to skip to sewing and then I'm going to skip back to knitting. So my finished object is my blue blouse that I was talking about. So this used to be a dress and it is now a blouse. So I turned this, sorry, my hair is kind of doing lots of things today. I sewed the Simplicity 1692D version of this blouse. I didn't do the rickrack around and I didn't do the buttons that I didn't even know were there because in the picture you can't really see them, but there are some buttons there and I chose to not do those. Really easy pattern, really fun to sew, didn't take me too much time. Once I had everything cut out and arranged, I will stand. But this shirt is just exactly what I wanted. It's just a very plain blouse. I did a rolled hem, did the plain facing, and I couldn't be happier. It's gonna go over jeans really well as it'll look cute with a skirt and dressed up. And it's exactly what I wanted, is just some easy way to wear this fabric because it's so pretty. And like I said, I am really in a pink phase right now. This podcast and the last two have shown like I'm really into pink yarns and flowers. I'm really having a pink renaissance right now. So yeah, anyway, I just really wanted to be able to wear this, and this top is so much easier to wear than the dress that I had sewn out of it first, and it just wasn't the right size and it draped funny, and so I think this is a good pattern that I'm going to go to again. I like that it's a little bit drapey. It's comfortable. It's kind of like just a fancier t-shirt. So yeah, I did it. Dress into shirt, check, done. So that is exciting. Real quick, I will show you the yarn that I talked about last week. Thank you so much, those of you that gave shawl recommendations and pattern recommendations for me. This is the yarn in question. It is Knit Picks Swish DK. I had originally bought this as possibly the main color for my Soldotna, and then I went with black. But it's called Lost Lake Heather, and it's showing pretty well. It's a kind of mossy green with flecks of teal and a mossy yellow almost. So it's really, it very much makes me think of like pictures I've seen of Scotland and like bogs and moss and just, I don't know. It has like a very rustic feel to me. Just the color makes me think of snuggling up with a very strong cup of tea with a very foggy day outside, and I just love it. So I don't know what to do with it though, because I didn't use it for the main color of my Soldotna. I so appreciate the recommendations that you sent. So I'm going to read out some of the recommendations. Johanna, thank you so much. She recommended the Malibu by Jody Brown, which is gorgeous. All of these patterns are beautiful. I looked at all of them and I really like them all. But isn't that always the case with knitting? There's just so much to knit and so little time. Odyssey by Hohilo Gatelli, and that one was really fun. And then the third one was, I have it written down. Whoops, move the camera. The third one, Rock Pooling Shawl by Helen Stewart. That's a really beautiful one too. I'm leaning towards that one because it has a section of two color work at the bottom, and I don't know if I have enough for one full shawl with this. And I do have a skein of gray in this, and I could use that as the second color, and that would buy me some more yardage. So I love that too. And then the other one, I think it was Treka, who, I don't know if I'm saying your name right, I'm sorry if I'm not, recommended the Cowboys and Angels shawl by Isabel Kramer. And oh my goodness, that pattern is gorgeous. And I really want to knit that one, but I don't have enough yarn. So I would need to buy a couple more skeins of this, which it would totally be worth it. Because there's some detailing where I could add a second color, but I love the way it looks in just one color. But anyway, I highly suggest if you're looking for DK weight shawls, the ones that they recommended are beautiful. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to do, but I think I'm going to look into the Rock Pooling or the Cowboys and Angels, I think. But I really love the DK weight shawl that I currently have. It's so comfy and it's just so warm, and I like the weight. It's just heavier than a fingering weight shawl. I love my fingering weight shawls too, but there's something when it's really, really, really cold outside, I just love having that thicker fabric shawl. So hopefully that will be cast on soon. I mentioned I like to have some harder knitting, like cerebral pattern, and then an easy mindless knit. Well, I also like to have thicker and thinner projects on the needles too. I like to work with different sizes of yarn at the same time, because sometimes I'm in a chunkier yarn mood where it feels that kind of motion is the motion that I'm craving, and then other times I want to work with a more fine yarn. So I think it's fun to have variety on the needles. But thank you guys so much. If you missed last week's episode and had other suggestions, feel free to leave them below. I love seeing the different patterns recommended because, you know, there's just so many beautiful ones out there, and it's so fun to see ones that I haven't seen yet. So yeah, thank you for those recommendations. We'll see what happens to these little beauties. I think that's pretty much all I've been working on. This took me a lot of time. Because I had to pull it out and start it again. And then I've really been into my Whitmoor the past few days. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've been doing. As far as just life stuff and catching up chat-wise, I had some fun home improvement opportunities last week with my husband. Our sink was leaking and we discovered a spot of water damage underneath the sink, and somehow we hadn't seen it. So we got really familiar with our local Home Depot and Lowe's, and we ended up buying a new faucet, and he put that in, And then we fixed the water damage, which was exciting to learn how to do that. So we had a lot of time spent on crafty things that were not my type of crafty things. They were time-intensive projects that yielded nice results, but I would have rather have been knitting. But actually, it was pretty fun to do. On Saturday morning, to tempt ourselves to take care of all these home improvement things, we went out for coffee. We typically, brew our own coffee at home and things like that. And we don't eat out too often, but we thought, okay, if we're going to have to wake up and go buy sink parts, not very fun. Let's treat ourselves to Starbucks and something sweet to eat. And so it was kind of fun to do an errand date that way. So yeah, spent a lot of time under the sink this week, which is not where I normally am. I'm normally above the sink washing and cooking things. So anyway, it was fun. We learned, and since we've owned our first place together, it's been fun to get more confidence in those type of projects, because when we first got this place, we were like, are we going to be able to keep it up? We've always had landlords and other people who could do that stuff. And yeah, we can. You can learn lots of stuff. And especially in the era of YouTube, it's very easy to get help with somebody else showing you how they do stuff. So yeah, that took a lot of time last week. I've been doing a lot of cleaning and organizing around the house. Been keeping up with my bullet journal, which has been good. I've been working on my recipe book. I posted on Instagram a couple days ago. I did the clean and delicious roasted vegetable frittata for dinner, and it was so good. So that recipe is going in the binder as a go-to. So yeah, it's been a fun week. I don't know. I think as far as creative plans for this next week, I really just can't wait to work on my Whitmoor sweater. I just get happy thinking about it. So I think I'm going to actually go do that pretty soon. Yeah, nothing big. My birthday's coming up, which is fun. So yeah, I think we're just going to probably take it easy, go out to dinner probably for my birthday. And hopefully there will be less plumbing projects and more knitting projects this week. So yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. I would love any other shawl recommendations below. And thank you again so much for the ones that we got last week. Yeah, I hope you have a fabulous week and a great end of February 2020. And I will look forward to showing you some progress next week. So have a great day and a great week, and we'll see you soon.